I've never told anyone this story before. Not really. My friends, what's left of them, don't like to talk about that night. And me, I just want to forget. But sometimes forgetting isn't a choice. Not when the forest follows you. It started with a stupid idea, like most bad stories do. Let's go camping, Dylan said. Let's go somewhere no one's been, Adam added. Let's make a weekend to remember, Katie said, smiling. And so we did. The place was called Black Hollow. It wasn't on any official map, but Dylan swore he found it while digging through an old hunting forum. Said it was secluded, untouched, just deep woods, deer trails, and the kind of silent city kids like us thought was adventure. We packed up on a Friday afternoon, four of us, me, Dylan, Adam, Katie, and drove out past the old logging roads until we found a narrow dirt trail that led into the woods. The deeper we went, the quieter everything got. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of our boots and the hum of the engine. It was about a mile, and when we passed a rusted sign half buried in moss that simply read, "No return," we laughed at it. Nervous, stupid laughter. If only we'd turn around right then. The clearing we found was perfect. A wide circle of flattened grass, surrounded by ancient oaks and twisted pines. We set up camp, cracked open some beers, and watched the last light of day bleed through the trees. Then, around dusk, we found it. Katie was the first to spot the stone. It jutted out of the undergrowth like a broken tooth, gray, moss-covered, and barely visible. She called us over, brushing away leaves and dirt until a name appeared beneath her fingers. Margaret Wilkes, 1839 to 1843. A child's grave. That was the first. Then we found another, and another, until we realized we were standing in the middle of a forgotten cemetery. Most of the stones were cracked, some fallen, but they were all there, dozens of them, spread out under the trees like dead memories. Creepy, Adam muttered, trying to play it cool. But none of us felt cool. The air had gone still. The temperature dropped in the forest. The forest suddenly watched us. That night, the fire wouldn't stay lit. Every time we built it up, it would sputter out, smoke curling and strange, choking patterns. Our flashlights flickered. My phone screen cracked for no reason, just a single fracture line across the middle, like something had clawed at it. Katie heard the voice first. She was by the tent, brushing her teeth, when she froze. I saw her stare into the woods, mouth full of foam. "Hello?" she said, her voice thin. "What is it?" I asked. She didn't look at me, just kept staring into the dark. I heard a child laughing. We all stopped. "There's no one out here," Dylan said, but even he didn't believe it. Not anymore. At midnight, Adam was gone. His tent was empty. His boots were still there, but no sign of him. No note, no sound. Just gone. We split up to search. I went north, toward where the graves were. I wish I hadn't, because that's when I saw it. The girl, she was standing between two graves, dressed in a white nightgown, her face pale and eyes wide like porcelain. Her hair hung wet over her face, and her mouth, God, her mouth was too wide. "Have you seen my brother?" she whispered. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. "He's cold now," she said, "but you'll be warmer." Then she vanished, just blinked out like she'd never been there at all. I ran back to camp, hard in my throat. But I wasn't alone. The forest had woken up. Branches moved on their own. Whispers followed me. My breath came in clouds, though it was a summer night. The graves were glowing, dim, green pulses like heartbeats in the dirt. Katie was screaming when I got back. Dylan was on the ground, convulsing, his eyes rolled back, mouth foaming. Katie was holding something. A bone, maybe a femur, dug up and clutched like a weapon. "We have to go," she shouted. We tried to run, but the trail was gone. The path we came in on was just trees now. Endless, thick, black trees. And behind us, laughter, dozens of voices, children's voices. We never found Adam. Dylan's in a psychiatric hospital. He doesn't speak anymore, just draws trees, over and over. Trees and graves and that same little girl. Katie left town, never returned my calls. I heard she moved south, Change her name. Can't blame her. Me, I still hear the whispers, sometimes. In dreams. In wind. In the quiet moments when the house settles too slowly. Black Hollow is still out there. And I think the forest is still waiting. Because the sign didn't say no entry. It said no return. I didn't sleep the night we escaped. If you could even call it that. Morning light never came. Not in the way it should have. The woods just faded to gray. Like the sun rose reluctantly over a place it didn't want to touch. When we finally stumbled onto the old trailhead, it wasn't triumph. It was survival. Barely. We didn't talk in the car. Katie drove. I stared out the window. Dylan sat in the back, rocking slightly, mumbling numbers under his breath. Sometimes he'd say a name, Margaret, Elias, sister. Then repeat the number 43 over and over again. I asked him once what it meant. He just said, that's how many are still there. A few days later, the dream started. At first, it was just trees, then graves, then her, always the girl in white. She'd be standing at the edge of the forest outside my window or hovering just behind me in a mirror. Sometimes, I'd wake up with dirt under my fingernails. Once, I found dead leaves in my bed. I tried everything. Burning sage, therapy, sleep meds. Nothing worked. The forest had followed me. No matter where I went, I could feel it breathing on the back of my neck. I needed answers. Real ones. I went back. Not to Black Hollow. Not yet. First, I went to town archives. Small place, tucked behind the courthouse. Dusty. Forgotten. Fitting. I asked the old clerk about Black Hollow. He paled. That's curse land, he said. Old Wilkes' family owned that stretch. Vanished back in 1843. Whole family. Folks said the woods took him. What about the graveyard? He nodded slowly. Children's plague hit him hard. They buried nearly 50 out there. Some say the parents joined them, but no one ever found their bodies. I asked about Margaret Wilkes. He handed me a brittle page from an old death ledger. Margaret N. Wilkes. Born June 3rd, 1839. Died November 17th, 1843. Cause of death, unknown. Noted last words, the forest calls. I nearly dropped the page. Because November 17 was the night we camped there. I tried calling Katie again. No answer. So I went to her apartment. Lights off. Mail piled up. I left a note. Please, we need to talk. It's not over. The next morning, the note was back on my windshield, in different handwriting. Scrawled in dirt across the hood of my car were the words, you shouldn't have left. That night, I heard the knock. 3 soft raps on my front door. I looked through the peephole. No one. When I turned around, she was standing in the hallway, dripping wet. Her nightgown clinging to her frame, eyes pitch black. You forgot your promise, she whispered. One stays. That was the deal. Then she vanished, and I heard the laughter again. Dozens of children, all around my house. Footsteps padding in the attic. A lullaby hummed from the basement. I didn't sleep. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. I'm going back. I think it's the only way to end it. Come if you want. But hurry. The forest is already waking up again. Katie, I didn't hesitate. I packed my bag, grabbed a flashlight, and drove north. Because I finally understood. The forest didn't want us to leave. We broke the rules. Now it wanted us back. Black Hollow didn't look the same. The trees were closer. The air was heavier. The moment I stepped out of the car, it felt like the ground exhaled beneath my boots. Like the forest had been holding its breath for me. Katie was already there. She was standing at the edge of the path, pale, thinner than I remembered. Her eyes were sunken, and her hair looked damp, clinging to her cheeks like she just crawled out of a swamp. You came, she said. You texted me. I replied. I didn't have a phone, she said quietly. Not anymore. My stomach turned. I checked my messages again. The thread was gone. No number. Just blank space where her name should have been. We went in anyway, because we knew we were already in. It took us twice as long to find a clearing, but when we did, it was still there. Sort of. The tents were rotting, sagging with mildew. The fire pit was now a circle of black stones, each one carved with a name. Some of them we recognized. Adam, Dylan, Margaret. Others hadn't been there before. Katie, I whispered, pointing at one stone, and next to it, my name. That wasn't here last time, I said, voice shaking. Katie didn't answer. She was staring at the graves. All the markers were glowing faintly, soft green pulses, beating like hearts underground. There's something buried here, she whispered. No kidding, it's a graveyard. No, she said, something else. Then the ground shifted, just slightly, enough that we both stepped back. And then we heard the whispering again, closer this time. Not words, names, over and over. Mine, hers, Dylan's, even Adam's. Something was calling roll. We should have run. I know that now, but Katie stepped forward instead. She dropped to her knees and began digging between two headstones. Her fingers tore through the dirt like it wasn't even there. She dug fast, desperately, like she already knew what she'd find. And then she stopped. I knelt beside her, expecting bones, maybe a coffin. What we found was worse. It was a mirror, old, cracked, rimmed in rusted iron, and buried under layers of rotted linen. At first, it didn't show anything, just our reflections, warped and twitching with static. But then, they started moving without us. Katie's reflection turned and looked at me, smiled with black teeth. Mine began to scream, soundlessly, mouth open too wide, neck twisting until it snapped. Katie slammed the mirror back into the dirt, gasping. I remember now, she said, trembling. We didn't leave that night. Not all of us. What do you mean? She looked at me, her face pale with realization. We died here. Parts of us. The forest just let the rest walk out. That night, we stayed in the clearing. Not because we wanted to, because we had to. Once the sun went down, the forest didn't look like a forest anymore. The trees changed. They weren't made of bark and leaves. They were bone, twisting spines, fingers, eyes in the knots, watching. And the graves? They opened, one by one, and from them came the children. Not alive, not quite dead, not anymore. They moved like marionettes, bones clicking, mouth slack, eyes glowing faint green. But worst of all, Adam was with them. He looked the same, sort of, just hollow. He walked straight up to me. You left me here, he said, but don't worry, I forgave you. Then he smiled. His mouth stretched far too wide. He had no tongue. Katie pulled me back. We have to do the ritual, she said. What ritual? The Wilkes family left instructions. I found them, etched into my dreams. She pulled out a knife. Old, rusted, covered in root veins. One of us has to stay, she whispered. I backed away. No, no way. But the children were closing in. Adam's eyes were bleeding now, tears of soil. Katie looked at me with sorrow. I'm already half gone, she said. But you still have light in you. Run. Don't look back. I tried to stop her. I really did. But then she stabbed the blade into her chest and whispered something in a language I didn't know. The forest screamed, not just the trees. The sky, the dirt, the graves. Every root burst from the ground, wrapping around the children, pulling them down. Adam was the last to go. He didn't struggle. He just stared at me. I hope they never let you forget, he said. And then he was gone. I woke up outside the forest. No car, no phone, just me lying in the middle of the old trail. But I wasn't alone. Katie's knife was beside me, and the dirt beneath my hands was still warm. It's been 3 days. My eyes don't reflect right in mirrors anymore. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, standing in my backyard, facing the woods. I don't remember getting there, but I always hear the whisper. One stays. That was the deal. The mirror came back. No matter how many times I smashed it, burned it, buried it, it returned, always showing the forest. And Katie, come back, she whispered. So I did. Black Hollow had changed. No trail, No tents, just a spiral of graves around a pit that pulsed like a living wound. Katie stood at the center, half consumed by roots, her eyes glowing. You were meant to finish it, she said. From the trees came the Wilkes family, decayed, twisted, fused to bark and bone. Margaret pointed at me. You brought the blade. Now give yourself or give us peace. I looked into mirror embedded in the root. Two reflections. One, me running free. The other, staying rooted in place, eyes glowing green. I chose. I drove the knife into the heart of the root. The ground screamed. The forest collapsed. The Wilkes were pulled into the earth. Katie smiled, vanishing into leaves. I woke alone in an empty field. Black Hollow was gone, like it never existed. But I remember, because that was the deal. Someone always remembers.